You've brought up distraction before, and I know you talk a lot about it in the book. How do we, in this world where algorithms are literally being constructed to make sure that they get our attention with as much frequency as possible, how do you talk to people about eliminating that? How do you do it in your own life? How do you create that space? How much time do you allocate to that real isolation?
Yeah, the brain tattoo in the book is an addiction to distraction is the death of your creative production. People's phones are costing them their fortune. So how do I do it? One of the rituals in the book is the tight bubble of total focus. It's based on Edison's Menlo Park. There's a great documentary on what he did, but essentially him and his band of co-geniuses would leave the world, go up to this hill to Menlo Park, where they could get into flow state, to give credit where it's due. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, University of Chicago, came up with that term, flow, when we're at our absolute best doing magical things in our performance. But that only comes when we get away from the world. So you can play with your phone, or you can be monomaniacally focused on being a history maker and legendary. You don't get to do both. And so building periods of time in that tight bubble of total focus where you leave your phone in another room, where you train your team, or if you don't have a team, you just don't have any distractions. And you ask yourself, what is the one thing I could do that would allow me to go out in the world and bring my magic to the world? The human brain has a phenomenon called transient hypofrontality. The neocortex, as you know, it's the seat of thinking. It's our monkey mind. It's all the chattering. It's the stuff that says, Tom, you can't do it. Robin, you can't do it. What would they think? What if I fail? What if I get laughed at? That's all the neocortex. It's the crown jewel of brain development. Not our primitive brain, crown jewel. But there's no genius in there. Now here's what I mean. When we get away from distraction and we find our Menlo Park, or we go work in a quiet place and we get lost, the neocortex actually shuts down. That's why it's called transient hypofrontality. For a short period of time, our thinking shuts down. The whole model is in the book. And we actually go from brain waves at beta down to alpha, down to theta, and maybe even delta. And we stop thinking and we go into flow. In other words, the advanced minds of the world, the great geniuses, Galileo, Da Vinci, Steve Jobs, they weren't in the neocortex. They got away from the world for bursts of time, which allowed them to access the human capability we all have to get into flow state and access insights that they went out in the world and then executed on with a world-class team, which totally changed the game.